What's good, people? It's about that time to randomly relate reverse rants, no hate. So, I really wasn't going to do this, but I'm going to speak on this briefly. Okay. And I was asked about this. Jake Paul versus Anderson Silva. For what it was, you could say they had a good fight on the level of competition that they are to each other. Jake Paul, I've seen some improvement in him. Now, this is the type of opposition that Jake Paul has been fighting. This is his step up. This is his biggest, step up. Jake Paul will continue to do this. He's created a lane for himself. Okay, Jake Paul will not fight a complete fighter that has less fight than him, or even a debut fight. Jake Paul will not fight anyone that doesn't have some type of popularity already. Okay, now what he's created for himself, for people that understand, we know that there's levels to this and that he's not a top tier fighter at all, by no stretch of the mind is he. But I don't feel like because of what he's doing, this is not a reason for people to look at him a certain way. The reason people look at Jake Paul the way that they do is because Jake Paul speaks like he's an elite fighter when he's not. So he's using guys that's not in their prime, guys that's not elite level fighters, boxers anyway, and then they're not even good in their own, if they were MMA guys, they're not even good in that sport anymore. Okay, so what he's doing is using these guys, and he's making a name off beating these guys. When you go through YouTube videos or whatever and you see who these guys are, they overlook the fact that he's not beating them in their sport. He's beating them in a boxing ring, but they're no longer relevant fighters. So, that being said, if Jake Paul stock continues to go up, let's just say, for example, Jake Paul becomes a guy that, okay, he can have a fight for $100 million with someone. Who do you think is going to turn down $100 million? Well, let's just say, for example, look at Usyk. Now, Usyk is 37 years old now. Right? Let's just say, for example, Usyk's retired. Usyk's 40, 41. Just say he's retired. And considerably past his prime. He's just no longer the same fighter. But let's say he retires at 39, and they say 2 years ago, this guy was, one of the premier boxers as a heavyweight. Now, let's just say, Usyk fought at cruiserweight before as well. So let's say he fights Usyk at a catchweight. And basically, Usyk just doesn't have the same stuff anymore. He beats Usyk. People will say, yeah, but this is Alexander Usyk. And see what happens is his stock goes up. Now, let's just say, for example, he winds up getting an actual fight with the current heavyweight champ of the world. Or he's saying he want to fight a cruiserweight. So let's just say, for example, he fights a cruiserweight. Now, let's say he goes in there and get destroyed. But at the same time, he was able to jump the line. Not because he earned his dues. He didn't do diligence. What he did was cut in front of the line through popularity. This is a problem that people have in boxing right now, is that guys don't want to put the work in, but they want title shots. And then they end up jumping the line because of certain little technicalities and things like that where they didn't earn anything. They got lucky. They got favoritism. They got a push from somewhere, right? That type of thing. And see, the narrative that people are starting to have in boxing is that you don't have to box all your life. You don't have to be a guy that dedicates your life to the sport. All you got to do is just be hungry and want that money. So they don't know the difference between a world-class boxer and a YouTuber. They don't know the difference. When the UFC first started, they didn't have guys that was really starting practicing these martial arts, these disciplines from the time they were kids. They had guys that were like ex-bouncers, guys that wanted to try to make some money. They just thought, hey, why not? I'll try. They coming in and learn whatever. They might have had some kind of background, karate, jiu-jitsu or something, but nothing really special. Horace Gracie was the big dog at that time back then. And what you notice in the progression and the growth of the UFC is they started getting fighters that have been studying and practicing a certain discipline since they were kids. And that's why you saw the fights progress and the fighters, everything, the sport grew. And it went from being where people wearing clothes, karate gear, cut off jeans, t-shirts, pulling hair and all that, and it became an actual sport that people respected. And look at where the UFC is now. And boxing is going backwards because you're getting guys that, you have fighters that have been boxing since they were kids. But again, a lot of them can't get they don't have that popularity yet. And so now when you have a guy who has been fighting on YouTube and he has more subscribers, more followers, and more recognition than these actual world-class fighters, what people don't understand is they're saying like, yo, that's good for the sport. It brings eyes to the sport. But in what way? See, they look at the pros and not the cons. Because like I said, you got people thinking that boxers is just powder puff guys, that anybody can box, just put on gloves and swing. They don't understand the difference. They really don't. And it's far more casuals involved now. And this is where, if it's about money, like I said, if Jake Paul can get cut in front of the line because of popularity, and all of a sudden it's a huge money fight, yeah, somebody will take him up on his offer. Okay? He's 199. Arthur Beterbiev fights at 175. He wouldn't fight Arthur Beterbiev. He wouldn't fight a world-class fighter. That's the whole thing. But he talks like he is. He says he's better than all these other guys. And this is where people don't like Jake Paul for that. Like, man, shut up. You're not that good, Jake. Okay, for what you're doing and the level of fighters that you're fighting, yeah, you're good enough to beat them. But don't disrespect us and talk like you're some world-class fighter when you're not. That's where that comes from. And I understand that 110%. Okay, a guy who goes out and make DVDs viewing himself playing basketball, and he's doing a lot of tricks and all this and that. You think that guy's going to end up in the NBA because he go out to a schoolyard and beat some guys? And then imagine this guy saying, I'm better than Steph Curry. Huh? I'm better than all these other guys. Why? Because you beat some guys out in the street? So when it comes to boxing, it's the same thing. When you have guys that might be rappers, an actor, or some kind of YouTuber or whatever, and all of a sudden they, get in the ring, the zone, put your show on, and then all of a sudden you got guys saying, yo, what about Jake Paul versus Anthony Joshua? Are you stupid? This is what I'm saying, though. And this is the type of stuff that they say because they don't know any better. So the future of boxing is being groomed by and with a bunch of casuals that don't know the difference. That's why you can name a bunch of fighters right now that have talent and nobody knows who the hell they are. But you can name a bunch of YouTubers and so-called boxing fans know who they are. These are the casuals. Once something gets commercialized, it gets to the point where it's all about the money, the authenticity dies. It's as simple as that. Ask a kid right now, what's the purpose of Christmas? Ask 100 kids that, and I guarantee you probably 97, 98 of them say to buy gifts. Yeah, you get gifts, and they don't even understand what the actual purpose of Christmas was. Ask them, what's the purpose of things? Get asked, they don't even know the purpose. Everything, once it becomes, people think when money's involved, it can't be wrong. It's business. Something can be at its height and then just completely die down. Because why? Like we say, the spirit of Christmas is dead. The spirit of these Halloween, all these different holidays are dead because people, they lost touch with it, what it is, what it's supposed to be. Same thing, man. This is boxing we're talking about. Money is always the driving force. It's a job. Let's not be stupid. No, all this legacy out here. No, everything is about legacy. It's a balance of that and being properly compensated. But just saying, for me to hear somebody, to be compared to any of those guys, that's blasphemy, man. That's like insulting. Like, are you serious? And this is what I'm saying. They don't know the difference, especially when you hear people saying, oh, MMA guys are killer boxing in a real fight, right? So that's another thing that they hear. Then they see Jake Paul beat this MMA guy, not in MMA, but in boxing. And because he does have some boxing background, they overlook the fact that he's past his prime as well. And they don't look at Jake Paul and see like what he's doing, how he's monopolizing. That's fine what he's doing as far as him making his presence felt. But again, when he disrespects the sport of boxing by saying he's as good or better than these world-class guys, and he hasn't fought one world-class boxer yet. And even to fight Hasim Rahman Jr., which that fight never went down, that was just used to try to make it look like, look, I'll be the guy that have X amount of fights. So this is what I'm saying. He does 8-rounders, right? He just did an 8-rounder with Anderson Silva. Right now, there's cruiserweights that only do 4 rounds. But he won't fight these certain particular guys because he know, nah, that guy hurt me. That guy will beat me. He's not trying to do that. He's not trying to earn it that way. He's trying to earn his way through the camouflage of I'm going to take name guys and beat them. Like when he called out LeBron James. LeBron James isn't a fucking boxer. LeBron James is about 250, 240, right? So is LeBron James, who plays basketball, really going to lose weight to come down to 200 pounds to fight Jake Paul? Does he need that money? No. So that's drawing attention to himself as well. Now, let's just say some basketball player or football player decides, I'll take you up on that offer. What does that have to do with fighting a world-class boxer? So this is, just one of those things. I watched. There's people who will probably try to just shed light on it to make it look like it was better than what it was, or maybe somebody really thoroughly enjoyed it. They were fighting, I was watching, and I'm, for what it was, they went back and forth. They had a tough fight with each other. I remember he wound up he knocked Anderson Silva down, I think the 6th or the 7th. He scored a knockdown against him. And it was like a seesaw fight back and forth. And I think the last 2-3 rounds, maybe, Jake pulled it out on him and started to, separate himself from Anderson Silva. And the knockdown definitely helped him get a big jump in the scores, the scoring. But it was what it was, man. It was what it was. It wasn't something that I looked at and felt like, man, this was. But I mean, for what it was, like I said, they had a good fight with each other. But we're not going to sit here and mistake that bullshit. And I have to say it like that. We're not going to sit here and mistake that bullshit for a world-class fight. And until Jake Paul fights someone like an Arthur Beterbiev, till he fights someone, okay, like a Bivol or someone on that level. And I have to say that. Why? Because Hasim Rahman Jr. had 14 fights? Okay. Arthur Beterbiev has around that many, or almost, I think 12 or 13 fights or something like that. So this is my point. It's a difference between Arthur Beterbiev and Hasim Rahman Jr. I think that Arthur Beterbiev will beat Hasim Rahman Jr. without going up in weight. Like, I think as a light heavyweight, he'll beat Hasim Rahman Jr. Okay? And he's 37 years old. So, again, he's not going to fight already willing and pumped up prime 37. He wants a 37 that's, okay, well, what was he? Oh, he was a rugby player? Oh, okay. He has a big mouth, though, right? Okay, and a lot of followers on you. Okay, cool. I'll fight him. That's what that is. So, again, for what it was, yeah, they had a competitive fight with each other. But if as far, and that's as far as I'll go with that. As far as me looking at that and trying to make it like it was, somebody that's world class, someone that is highly respected in boxing, no. So, salute to them for doing what they did. And let's keep things in its proper perspective and keep it on that level that it's on to understand. Jake Paul is a work in progress. So no, he's not as good as his mouth is, but I have seen improvements in him. But at the same time, we're seeing him fighting against guys who are past their primes. Anderson Silva, one thing that he doesn't have is a big punch. Okay? And even in his heyday in the UFC, his kicks, he threw punches, but it was mostly his kicks that did the damage. And overall, regardless, let's not mistake Anderson Silva for a world-class boxer, because that he's not. And again, Jake Paul is in his 20s. So he knows what he's doing. There's guys right now his age, like I said, he said he want to be cruiserweight champ of the world, which is one of the most undermined divisions in boxing, and there's guys right now that he could fight that's just debuting. He wouldn't fight them right now. He doesn't want to risk losing. He doesn't want to risk losing his star power. So this is what he's doing, and this is the route that he's going to take. But again, if he was to jump the line and get a title shot with someone at some point without fighting a world-class guy, but just because of popularity, that wouldn't be cool. But that's the route he's trying to take. So anyway, whatever happens, happens. No skin off my back. But I'll tell you all this. Boxing, these boxers out here, they need to learn how to promote the sport better. These fighters need to learn how to promote themselves better as individuals. Because to be honest with you, boxing has a lot of good fighters that has no recognition whatsoever. And one of the biggest problems with all these guys is it's all about money, money, money. They don't care about legacy. And that's just what it is. So they don't want to fight the guys at the top unless they're really hungry. But once they get to it, they lose that hunger. It's like, okay, now I can pick and choose. Now it's my turn to take it easy. So anyway, it is what it is. Talk to me in the comment section. Never fall in love with lies. Remember, the truth brings hate out of people, and I will catch y'all on the next video.